K-pop fans are some of the most passionate people in the world, but what happens when that passion turns into something dark?
หนูกลัว ไม่มีใครอยู่เป็นเพื่อนเลย
Today, I'm trying to recreate BlackPink's Lisa 2024 VMA's outfit, and while doing so, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of toxic fandoms. Why do fans become obsessed? Why do some turn into haters? And why do idols like Lisa experience extreme love and extreme hate at the same time? Let's talk about Lisa's VMA dress now. So the fabric has somewhat of a nude color, maybe it even has like a pinkish tone to it. It also looks like it is stretchy, talking about the gloves and the way the fabric seems to flow. The bodice seems to be sheer, but it isn't, as you can see in her bust area, and also the color is a little bit off from her skin tone. So I went to the biggest fabric store that I know of, and this is what I found. The only problem is that I didn't find anything stretchy in that color whatsoever, so I did buy a non-stretchy fabric, which I did regret at the end. But on a more positive note, if you buy 4 meters of fabric, you can do something like this. We can't talk about fan wars without addressing the infamous fan war between EXO and BTS fans. In this fan war, the security at award shows wasn't just for the idols, it was for the fans. EXO-Ls and BTS ARMY weren't just fighting online, they were having fistfights in real life. What started as a rivalry between K-pop's two biggest boy groups escalated into death threats, doxing, and full-blown chaos. EXO had ruled the industry for years, but as BTS began to rise, EXO-Ls felt their dominance slipping. They accused BTS of stealing their spotlight, manipulating charts, and copying EXO's style. BTS ARMYs hit back just as hard, celebrating BTS's success while mocking EXO's decline. The war spread across Twitter, YouTube, and fan cafes until it boiled over into the real world. Jimin received assassination threats before concerts, EXO members' private information was leaked, and tensions reached a breaking point. This wasn't about music anymore. For these fans, EXO and BTS weren't just groups, they were an identity worth fighting for. This brings us to social identity theory, which suggests that people boost their self-esteem by identifying strongly with a group. The deeper this identification, the more likely fans are to view outsiders, rival fandoms, or critics as threats. This us versus them thinking is a core element of tribalism, and it can spark intense competition and at times toxicity within fan communities. Research also shows that defending your own group releases dopamine, which makes fan wars not only exciting but also rewarding, which fuels the us versus them thinking even further. At first, I began pre-sewing the gloves, and this technique I'm using I saw on Pinterest and I tried it out. I would not recommend it for non-stretchy fabric, it might work for stretchy fabric. I also pre-sewed the bodice using old sheets which were gifted to me, so I hope they are not watching this video. If you are, I'm sorry. I used classic zip ties as boning, and this is how the bodice looked after pre-sewing it. Next, we will talk about obsessed fans, and I thought Lisa might be the best person to tell you one of her stories.
เพิ่งจะมีซาแซง มีครั้งหนึ่งที่ปกติแล้วค่ะเวลาหนูแลนด์ที่เกาหลีก็จะมีแฟนๆมารอรับที่สนามบินอันนั้นคือเป็นเรื่องปกติแล้วหนูดีใจมากๆที่เขามารอรับหนูแบบเราก็คิดถึงเขาอ่ะแต่พอหนูถึงบ้านก็เห็นนี่แหละค่ะรออยู่ซึ่งก็บอกว่าถ้าจะมาหาแบบนี้หนูไม่สะดวกใจนะคะแบบว่าถ้าจะมาก็แบบไปเจอที่แบบที่เขาไปเจอกันปกติดีไหมอะไรเงี้ยแบบมาถึงบ้านนี่แบบไม่สะดวกจริงๆอ่ะแล้วเขามาตอนกลางคืนด้วยคือดู CCTV แล้วหนูไม่กล้าออกจากบ้านก็เลยกลายเป็นว่าเริ่มกังวลแล้ว เพราะว่ามันอยู่คนเดียวอ่ะ
Did you tell your mom?
Yep.
And what did she say?
Well, we can't do anything, so I just asked my manager, who's a girl, to stay with me, and it's not just only in my Korean house.
What?
It's also in my LA house as well.
What?
Yeah.
Whenever I hear stories like this, I wonder why people act in such extreme ways. The basis of all this behavior are parasocial relationships. You may have heard of this concept before. This is when fans form one-sided relationships with celebrities. The idol has no idea they exist, but the fan feels deeply connected, as if they know them personally. But how can we feel like we know someone when we actually don't? Well, according to science, our brains struggle to differentiate between real-life social interactions and those we experience through social media or TV. When celebrities like Lisa speak directly to fans through videos or live streams, our brains process it as genuine social interaction. And if we regularly see the celebrity through social media, for example, it strengthens the illusion that we personally know them, even though the connection is entirely one-sided. This can lead to deep emotional attachments and strong loyalty. Now, here's where things get interesting. Due to this deep emotional attachment, when an idol does something the fan does not expect, it can feel like a personal betrayal. This leads to something called cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort we feel when our beliefs, expectations, or values clash with new information or reality. Fundamentally, there are three ways to reduce this discomfort: justification, changing of beliefs, and rejection, with rejection often being the easiest choice. Many people prefer to simply dismiss or ignore conflicting information instead of having to engage with it deeply. Lisa's Crazy Horse performance was a perfect example of this. To fill you in if you're not familiar, in September 2022, Lisa performed at the Crazy Horse, a famous Parisian cabaret known for its sexy, bold performances. It was a solo project that showed a different, more mature side of her, which was unexpected by many fans. This challenged the image they had of Lisa, creating psychological discomfort or cognitive dissonance. To reduce this discomfort, fans either justified the performance, changed their perception of Lisa, or rejected the new information by dismissing the significance of the performance or even lashing out emotionally online.
Making the bodice was the next feat. Since the only nude fabric I found was see-through, I had to layer it over the white fabric as to not expose myself. While the white fabric did make the nude appear a little lighter, it was still much too yellow to match my skin tone. It's just good I'm not as pale as I was as a teenager. That was when I asked my mom if I looked pale because I wasn't feeling great, and she replied, "Well, paler than pale is not possible, is it?" Anyways, to give the bodice more structure than I have in my life, I added the 2 middle boning channels first, and to reward myself for having the bodice under control, I added the sparkly details. Other than that, integrating the boning was the opposite of a rewarding experience. I had to redo it 3 times for it to look mediocre. But we're going with it because I'm not a professional and I'm trying to work on my perfectionism. Also, here's my boyfriend being cute.
Kannst du mir die Nordhörner geben?
Oh, ich hab meinen Finger gesehen.
Now let's talk about something that is unfortunately all too common in the world of K-pop fandoms: online hate. One of the most shocking examples comes from a tragic incident involving Sully, a former member of FX. Sully was constantly subjected to relentless online hate and cyberbullying. She was accused of being too rebellious for speaking out about mental health, being too open about her personal life, and even not adhering to the traditional standards of modesty the public expected of her. This kind of online cruelty led to an overwhelming sense of isolation, and ultimately Sully took her own life in 2019 at the young age of 25. Her story isn't isolated. It's part of a larger pattern we see in K-pop, where idols are often brutally attacked online, and these attacks are amplified by certain psychological effects. But why are people especially cruel online? It's partly due to the online disinhibition effect, the idea that people act differently on the internet than they would in real life. Anonymity, physical distance, and the lack of immediate consequences make it easier for people to be more aggressive, blunt, or even hateful. This is why fan wars, cancel culture, and toxic behavior thrive online. People feel emboldened to say things they would never say face to face. Also, people seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs. That is called confirmation bias. So if someone already dislikes an idol, they will only engage with negative information about them, which will reinforce their hatred.
As if making the bodice wasn't enough of a struggle, I still wasn't done with the dress because I still had to cover my legs too. Making the skirt was somewhat straightforward since I could start by sewing a simple tube, but because in life everything is temporary, I opened one of the seams I'd just sewn up to the hip bone to achieve the asymmetrical look. Make sure to add a dart here if you're insane enough to try this at home to ensure looking snatched. Then do some magic with the little leftover fabric you have because apparently 4 meters just wasn't enough and we're done. Ah yes, don't forget to almost drive yourself to despair by making gloves that would have been so much easier with a stretchy fabric.
Imagine you're a K-pop idol. It's time for your performance. You feel the excitement rushing through your veins. You have performed the song 100 times, but still you can't help feel a little nervous. All eyes are on you and your group. The music starts. It's like something switches inside of you. Everything feels automatic. The dance moves, the singing, until someone rushes towards you and grabs you by your wrist. Who is that? You've never seen this person before. You try to escape, but they proceed dragging you off the stage. This happened to Girls' Generation member and soloist Taeyeon while performing in Indonesia in 2011. Luckily, security and her fellow member Sunny intervened. And the scariest part, this wasn't an isolated incident. Saseng fans, a term for obsessive stalkers in the K-pop world, have repeatedly crossed every boundary imaginable, from breaking into idols' homes, into hiding GPS trackers in their cars. Some of them believe they are destined to be with their idol. Others see their obsession as love. Psychologists have a name for this level of fixation: celebrity worship syndrome. It was found while most fans admire celebrities in a healthy way, some develop an obsessive emotional attachment. At its most extreme, this can lead to stalking, harassment, and even delusions. One of the most disturbing cases is erotomania. This is when someone genuinely believes that a celebrity is secretly in love with them, even though they've never met. Every social media post, every glance in a crowd, even a song lyric can feel like a secret message meant just for them. Just like in the Saseng story. But why does this happen? Well, the basis of all this is the parasocial relationship created through engaging with an idol's social media, variety shows, and art like music or acting. Once a fan has this positive image of the idol, they only engage with information that makes them like the idol more through confirmation bias. And when this cycle is continued, this can lead to obsession. This is especially likely if the fan is fulfilling certain risk factors, like pre-existing mental health conditions, social isolation, low self-esteem, or unstable life circumstances. So when admiration turns into obsession, it's not just about being a crazy fan. It's about the way our brains process relationships, even when the relationship only exists in our minds. And this is not to excuse stalking behavior in any way. That is definitely these people's responsibility, even if they have pre-existing mental health conditions.
To do the dress justice, we drove to Denmark so I could freeze while modeling it in the dunes. It was super windy that day. Honestly, this was a really challenging project for me, but I'm glad it turned out okay. And for the sake of completeness, here's the full outfit again, this time with more fitting hair and makeup. I actually created the bangs by pinning some of my hair up at the back. What do you think? How did I do? Let me know in the comments.
To summarize everything we talked about, it starts with a fan consuming media of an idol or a group. Through this media, the fan will sooner or later be exposed to the according fandom, which can be a very positive experience. But through the us versus them thinking of tribalism, it can also lead to the fan participating in fan wars. Going back to the media the fan consumes of an idol, the consumed media forms the image the fan has of the idol. Because confirmation bias makes people seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs, the opinion the fan has of the idol in turn influences the media the fan consumes of the idol. As you can see, this is a cycle, and it can spiral into both directions. So it can either solidify a positive or a negative opinion a fan has of an idol. If the opinion is negative, it can lead to online hate, which is amplified by the online disinhibition effect, which makes people emboldened to say more unhinged things than they would say in real life. If the opinion is positive, it can lead to parasocial relationships, where fans form a one-sided emotional attachment to the idol. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but if this emotional attachment grows too strong, it can lead to stalking or harassment. Also, if the idol does something the fan didn't expect, cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort when our values, beliefs, or expectations clash with reality, can also lead to the fan turning against the idol and participating in online hate. Now that we know all about how fans can turn toxic, let's make the internet a more positive space. Let your favorite artists know that you support them. You never know, maybe you will make someone's day. You certainly made mine by watching this. So thank you, and bye.